Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is time for my May favorites. We're going to do this just in the traditional way because I have got a lot of stuff to share with you guys today. I partially hate to do this to you guys. I know it can get a bit overwhelming, but we're just going to breeze through all this stuff. I've tried out a lot of stuff this month. I've been very busy. So there are a lot of new favorites in here that I'm really excited about, but I do have a couple of old school favorites that I am sprinkling in here as well. Some rediscovered favorites I am so incredibly excited about. Hope you guys are excited about it as well. Welcome to my channel, especially if you are a new visitor here. I want to send you a special welcome and encourage you to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And if you enjoy this video, and this goes for all of you, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. With that said, let's get to it. So let's jump into the eyeshadow palettes first. I do have a couple of them. I want to first start off mentioning a repeat because I have still been enjoying these. I know you're probably sick of hearing about them. I'll give them just a brief mention. I'm talking about the Wet n Wild Color Icon palettes, and these two specifically. I have really leaned into these ones this last month. These ones have just been really good staples for me and ones that I anticipate I'll really enjoy this coming summer. This one right here is the Call Me Sunshine palette. It's the one that's kind of bronzy yellow toned. The bronzes inside this palette are spectacular, and as much as it appears that there's a lot of similarity in these shades, they're all very different. The bronze tones are all toned a little differently, so you can create a variety of different bronze toned looks with this one simple palette. Very affordable, as you guys probably know. I know I've talked about these a lot. I love that you get a light bright champagne and a nice deep dark brown. That gives them a lot of versatility. And moving into summer, I love a good bronzy eye. It's one of my favorite summer staple looks, especially when I'm a little bit more tan. Put on a healthy amount of bronzer, some really nice highlight, and a good bronzy eye. I think it's such a great staple look for summer, so I cannot wait to use this some more this summer. I've been using it a lot over the last 4 weeks and continue to reach for this thing despite the fact that I have been testing out a lot of other new palettes, so I think that's saying something. Another one I've really been loving in particular is this one right here. This is the Go Commando palette. This is one of the original ones that made me fall in love with these palettes. This is such a great color scheme. This is like more of a red tone bronzy eye, so if you kind of like a bronzy eye in the summer but something that's a little more copper or rust toned, this is such a pretty one. I love this shimmer shade right here. It's a nice kind of bronzy gold, but it has this peachy duochrome to it. When you put it on your eyes and kind of blend it out, it gives you this like peach effect that's so pretty. It reminds me a lot of, actually a little bit of the shade that I raved about in the Natasha Denona palette and the Retro Paradise palette from e.l.f. Really great palette if you love a very warm bronze or copper eye. So pretty. But as I mentioned, I have been trying out a lot of palettes this month. Honestly, the last 2 months have been a little bit ridiculous. As someone that kind of prided myself for a long time on my moderate pace at trying things out, I don't know what happened to me. I'm a new woman, and I don't say that with a great amount of pride. I do say that with a little bit of shame. But I've known from day one that eyeshadow palettes are my weakness, so it is no surprise to me that I have fallen to these depths. Enough ranting. One of the new palettes that has really, I won't say surprised me. I guess I'm not really surprised at how much I've been enjoying. It's the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. This is a palette that I kind of picked up on a whim. I didn't really do a lot of digging into the details of this one. Usually I really analyze the swatches and look at them on different skin tones. Sometimes I'll wait for reviews to come out on the palette, or I at least will give it a good hard look. But this one, I saw it released and I honestly instantly hit the buy button. I downloaded the Sephora app because you could get it sooner if you did that, which genius marketing tactics, Sephora. Worked on me. I had a tiny bit of buyer's remorse initially, and then when I got the palette and opened it up and saw that it didn't include a champagne or a shell pink or something nice and bright for the inner corner, at least I thought, I figured I might not like this palette that much. But you guys, I've really kind of fallen in love with this palette. This is such a fun palette. Now, if you saw my video where I did a first impressions on this and I did some comparisons, if you have a modest or large eyeshadow palette collection, there's a good chance that you probably own a lot of these shades within other palettes within your collection. I mentioned the e.l.f. Retro Paradise as being a good alternative to this one, the Kathleen Light's Dream Street palette. But the biggest reason that I fall in love with this palette is for one shade, this mint green right here. This is such a fun shadow. In the video where I test this out, you'll see kind of how I fell in love with this shade. It is such a fun one. I am wearing this palette on my eyes today. That bright pop of, you can barely see the green in it. It's something that you kind of have to see in person. It's almost a white with a very subtle green. It's not a shift because it's not a duochrome, it's a matte, but it has a very subtle green to it. It's much more of a white base than a green base, I guess. So it's nice and brightening. It's a fun pop of color that's not overly bright. So if you are slightly intimidated by color, I don't think this is something that would intimidate you. It also goes with a lot of different things in this palette. I've tried it with the blues. I've even tried it with this kind of khaki green right here, and I thought that was a really fun combination. Today I'm wearing it in combination with some of these pinks and peaches right here, and then this dark brown is in my outer corner. All around, just a really fun palette. I hate to say go out and buy this palette for one shade. I don't think that's usually a very wise thing to do. And for the most part, I think a lot of these shades you might own within your collection, but I'm really enjoying this one. I did want to mention for you guys though, as I was editing the video where I used this palette the first time, when I was watching myself use this mint green, I wondered how similar it was to the mint green inside the Mandalorian palette. So I wanted to show you guys or compare those two today for you. They are different. I did swatch them before this video. Here's how they look next to each other. I'm talking about that mint green in the middle right there. Sorry, I am short fingers. But I want to swatch them for you guys so you can see how they compare. So let's start with this one right here. This is from Natasha Denona, the shade Breath, white based mint green, and then here is the shade Baby Face from the Mandalorian palette. So there they are right there. Hopefully you can see how much more white base the Natasha Denona shade has in it. But other than that, I think they are quite similar, and I would basically just say if you're not able to splurge on this palette, perhaps you own the Mandalorian palette. If you own a matte white within your collection, or possibly even if you have a matte white eye primer like the NYX Milk Jumbo Stick, do you guys remember that thing? I wonder if you put that underneath the shade, if you might get a similar effect. I haven't tried this out myself, but I just thought I would mention it for you guys because I feel like you could get a similar look, and it's a really fun look, and that way you don't have to spend $65 on a Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette that you may not need. But regardless, I've really been enjoying this palette, a definite favorite for the month of May. Another new palette that I've really been enjoying that kind of surprised me is from Colourpop. This is the Off Melrose palette. Now I featured this in a wishlist video a long while back. Decided not to pick it up because it did look a little bland, and a couple of you even mentioned you thought it looked a little bland. But I've got to say, you guys, if you like neutral looks, this is a pretty fun little palette. Despite the fact that it doesn't look very bright or exciting, there actually are some really interesting shades inside here. You get just the one pressed glitter in here. Other than that, everything is just a basic matte or shimmer, or matte with shimmer particles in it, which Colourpop tends to do pretty often in their palettes. Really fun palette. I love the different colors you get in here. I love this kind of pinky bronze shade right here. I love this taupe. I'm a sucker for a good taupe lately, and this is such a pretty bright, almost shell pink taupe. Very, very beautiful. A good staple kind of peach toned champagne, and then you get a duochrome in here. And I love a good duochrome. This one has quite a bit of like a blue-green, almost like the color of the Caribbean shift to it. Almost looks purple when you turn it to the side. Really fun color. Really been enjoying that. Really good staple mattes inside here as well. I did feature this in my last video, but I filmed that video over a week ago, and I've had this palette for about 3 weeks now. So I have had a good chance to use this, despite the fact that you guys are probably just new to seeing this. But I've been impressed and surprised at how much I've been reaching for this one and enjoying reaching for this one, especially with all the competition that it has going on. So those are the palettes that I have for this month's favorites. I didn't put the Pat McGrath palette in here because honestly, you guys, I've still only used that palette twice. I'm kind of still afraid of that palette. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the pretty packaging. I thought this was something I had gotten over, but apparently it's not. I need to get over my fear and start using that very expensive eyeshadow palette and stop being afraid of it. So let's move on. I still have a lot of stuff to get through. I'm going to try really hard not to talk quite as much through the rest of these. Let's just get into it. Let's start with the base products. I wanted to mention again the Ofra Cool as a Cucumber Primer. I bought the full size of this. I do have an Ofra video coming up for you guys soon. I picked up some other things from Ofra that I'm excited to try out for you guys. Actually haven't even tried them out yet, so that video will be coming up soon, but I love this primer. I have been using this primer for a while. I've had it for about 3 weeks now, and I did have a sample of this previously. I really, really love it. And I'm not one to usually love primers. If you like a hydrating primer, this is a really, really good one. Next up, this one probably won't be a surprise to you guys, is the Mizon Snail Repair Intensive BB Cream. If you saw the video recently where I tried out some K-Beauty makeup, the title of that video I think was something along the lines of "This is one of the best foundations I've ever tried." There's a reason I put that in the title, because I've been trying this out for a while and I can't say enough good things about it. I absolutely love this stuff. It is like the foundation of my dreams. It gives me everything that I need from a foundation. With the way my skin is currently, I do have dry skin. I am almost 40. I have a lot of sunspots to cover, so I need something that's hydrating. It's not going to be cakey and settle into any sort of texture or fine lines on my face, but it's also going to give me really good coverage, and this is the perfect product for that. I love this. My skin loves this. It looks so good on my skin. I have it on today, and today I actually put it on with a brush, and I still really love it. I actually prefer, I think, putting this on with my hands, but it looks just as good with the brush. brush. I've tried it with a sponge. It seems to work great. Although I hate using a sponge with this stuff because I love it so much, and sponges always use more product or soak up more product, so I feel like I'm wasting some of it, and this stuff is just so valuable and precious to me right now. I love it so much. Shade number 27 matches me perfectly. It has SPF 50, and as the title implies, it has some sort of snail repair properties in it, which I don't know what that means or necessarily what that does, but it sounds pretty fancy, and my skin does seem to really love this stuff. You do get 1.76 ounces of product inside here, so quite a bit of product. It is pretty affordable. I think I got this for around $12. I'm already thinking of buying a backup because I have a feeling I'm going to burn through this stuff really quickly. Fantastic. Probably the #1 favorite of this month, which is saying something because I've got a lot of good stuff this month. Let's move into some cheek products. I've got a lot of them. Let's start off with a bronzer duo. It is the Patrick Ta bronzer duo. I've been a huge fan of this last month. I actually wanted to include this, or almost included this in last month's favorites video, but I had only had it for about 4 days. Thought that was just not quite enough time, despite the fact that I fell in love with this pretty quickly. So I held off, and I'm happy to report that I have only continued to fall more and more in love with this stuff. For those days when I really want my bronzer or makeup to like last all day long, pairing the cream with the powder on top really does give you a much longer, long-lasting bronzer application. I imagine you could do the same thing with any cream or powder bronzer combination within your collection if you own something else and you don't want to go pick this up. You could get the same effect with something else. But I do really love the shade from this one. This is in the medium shade, which is the She's Sculpted shade, but I've really been enjoying it. I do like applying this actually with my finger. I find that to be the easiest way to apply it for me. It blends out really, really quickly, and then I just take a nice big fluffy brush and apply the bronzer on top. It is the bronzer that I am wearing today. I know I have some blush and some highlighter on there too that we'll get into in just a sec, but if you're really into a bronze look and you sometimes like a cream, sometimes like a powder, sometimes like to pair them together, this is the perfect product to get that bronze look to last all day long. And I just love the Patrick Ta products, and by that I've tried 2 of them so far, but so far I've been impressed with both of them. Love the blush of his that I have, and I now love the bronzer. Very happy with this. Next up, I have a repeat item. This is a highlighter that I have fallen back in love. Actually, I've always been in love with this, but I pulled it back out recently and remembered why. This has got to be one of the top 3 highlighters in my entire collection, I am discovering, and it is the Persona highlighter in the color Zuma. This is my dream summertime highlighter. It is this beautiful golden shade. It is super, super intense, but it's also very glossy looking. Like, it gives the most beautiful summertime highlight. It's one of the few highlighters that I've ever been complimented on. A year or 2 ago when I first got this and wore it, my husband actually commented on how glowy and luminous my skin looked. I don't remember exactly what he said. I don't think that he even knew exactly what was making me look like that, but I know it was this, and I have only continued to fall in love with this. If you like a golden tone highlighter, this is just such a beautiful shade. I'd say it's a light gold with a subtle peach shift to it. I would imagine if you have extremely fair skin, this might be a little bit too deep for you. I can use it in the middle of winter when I'm at my fairest, but I sometimes find that it's a little bit too deep. In the summertime though, and in the springtime when I have a touch of a tan, it is just so lovely. The color and formula of this, I just don't know there's much out there that can beat it. It's just so, so beautiful. I am wearing it on my cheeks today. It's the perfect golden. It's not too gold, but it has just the right amount of gold if you like that really bronzed goddess kind of look, which I think is so pretty, especially in the summer. Let's just burn through these, you guys. I've got a lot of blushes to talk about today. Let's go through a couple from my recent Yes Style order. I had to mention the Juicy Pink water blushes, particularly this one right here. This one is in the shade, I think it was Raspberry. It's PKO2. It is such a pretty berry tone shade. I'm really into berry toned blushes right now. I just think they look so pretty and healthy and kind of summery and youthful on the cheeks. I absolutely love this color. I've always loved the Juicy Pink formula, as you guys probably know, and I think this is such a fun addition to the other shades that I have. Very different from the other shades that I own. Really, really pretty, and I think this would work for so many different skin tones. If you have fair skin, these blend out to an almost sheer colorless look if that's what you're going for. If you add a little bit more product or build them up, you can really get them to pop on your cheeks if you have a little bit more medium to deep skin tone. Fantastic shade. I've really especially been loving this one right here. I also wanted to mention this right here. This is the Colourpop Cheek Dew. I have mine in the shade Hot Fuss. I use this in my recent Colourpop order, but I've been reaching for this quite a bit over the last week and a half, so I haven't had it too long. But the few times that I've reached for this one, I've just noticed something kind of special about, I don't know if it's the formula or if it's the color or if it's both. Here it is swatched on the back of my hand. This is kind of an apple color, like red apple, but it has a very subtle touch of pink to it. It gives my cheeks this look, and I've actually noticed this at the end of the day, so this does wear pretty long. By the end of the night when I'm going to wash my makeup off and I have this on my cheeks, I feel like I look like Snow White, like in a good way. I look like a fairy tale, like there's this subtle natural flush of pink that just makes me look like I'm a little kid. I don't know. I feel like those are all the wrong descriptions, but this is just really, really pretty on my cheeks, and it stands out to me at the end of the day. I don't always think that when I go to wash my makeup off at the end of the day. There's not often something on me that I think, ooh, wow, but this is one of those things that I look in the mirror and I think, ooh, that's pretty. What is that? It's the Colourpop Cheek Dew. I do want to also add the formula of these cheek dews reminds me of a mix between like the water blushers. If you were to mix those with something a little bit more tacky along the lines of like the Milani cream blushes that are kind of a little bit more tacky, that's kind of what you would get with the Colourpop Cheek Dews. Wasn't expecting to fall in love with this stuff, but I've been very impressed with it. By the way, it is the cheek color that I am wearing on my cheeks today. All right, we're just about there, you guys. I also wanted to talk about the Juicy Pink Jelly Blushers. If you've been looking for a more affordable dupe to the MAC Glow Play blushes or the Bare Minerals Bounce and Blur blushes, these are so similar in formula. This one right here is in the shade Plum. I think this is my favorite shade. I also have the shade, I think this one was Guava. This one's much more light and warm and peachy in tone. It's much more of a subtle blush, but I love them both. They are both beautiful. The formula is lovely. The lasting power on these is pretty good as well. They honestly remind me so much of a higher end cream cheek product. I really love them. You probably don't get as much product inside here as you would inside the MAC or the Bare Minerals, but honestly, I will never use those up in my entire lifetime. I'm quite certain. Probably never even use these up as well because, well, mainly because, as you will see just in this video alone, that I seem to have a bit of a blush problem. But very impressed with these. This is another product, just like the water blushers, that I now want to own every single shade that they have. I don't need to. I'm going to wait at least 6 months before I place another order with YesStyle, but next time I do, I will likely pick up a couple more of these because I really love them. Last cheek product, but this is actually a lip product that I also really enjoy as a cheek product. I've talked a little bit about it over the course of the month, but I'm talking about the Hard Candy Plumping Serum Lip Balms. Now use these on your cheeks at your own risk because these are not meant to go on the cheeks. They do have a plumping property to them. This is my very favorite one. This is the one that I initially used in the video where I tried these out. I think I did a new makeup from the drugstore video that I kind of fell in love with these, and I absolutely love it still. This one is in the shade Colossal Caramel. I do have this on my lips today. I'm going to put a little bit more on right now for you guys so you can kind of see it. So comfortable on the lips and so pretty on the cheeks and surprisingly long wearing. I assumed that when I use these on my cheeks they would not last at all because they're very sheer, they're very hydrating, and they're not meant for your cheeks. So I just assumed that they wouldn't work very well there, but I've actually been using these a lot on my cheeks, especially before I got all the stuff from YesStyle. I actually went out of town for the weekend a couple of weeks ago. I misplaced this one for a couple of days. I couldn't find it, so I immediately went on Monday or Tuesday back to my Walmart and picked up this same one along with 2 more shades. I ended up finding it, so I think I'm going to give that one to one of my sisters. Love these on my lips. I love them on my cheeks. These 2 shades right here, I also really like. Let's go ahead and just swatch these on the back of my hand. I will try to swatch them on the back of my hand. It's getting a little bit stained and they are a little bit sheer. This is the Colossal Caramel shade. Really nice and glossy and sheer. I also have this one right here, which is the shade Bountiful Bear. This one's even more sheer and it has more of like a peach effect to it, a little bit warmer. Very pretty though as well. Love that one on the lips as well. And last but not least is the shade Richly Rose. This one's a little bit more pigmented and has more of like a berry undertone to it, but it is very beautiful as well. This is one I'm especially excited to use in the fall. I really love these. I've been very surprisingly impressed with how much I have been loving these and how much I've been throwing them into my bag and making sure they're with me everywhere I go. Great, affordable, multi-purpose product if you like something that's kind of multi-purpose. This is a really good one that I was very excited to discover. All right, we're getting very close. A couple more things. One more lip product. I wanted to mention the LA Girl Ultimate Intense Stay Auto Liner. This one's in the shade Nonstop Nude. I believe I featured this in a favorites video quite a while ago, but this is quickly becoming one of my go-to staple lip liners. It is the perfect shade for me. It's one of the longest lasting lip liners that I have that's not a high-end lip liner. I absolutely love this. I reach for it almost daily. There's the shade right there. Just a very good staple nude shade. It's a really good pink that's not too pink, a deep that's not too deep. I'm very picky with my nude lip colors, and this is the perfect color for just about anything that I pair it with. I absolutely love it. Nice and affordable, nice and long wearing, easy to get your hands on. I just buy these at Ulta. This is becoming a staple product for me that I feel like has gotten overlooked for how long I've been loving and using this. So I thought it was time that I mentioned it for you guys today. Have a couple of eyebrow products to share with you guys. First off, the e.l.f. and Jen Atkin brow gel. I have really been loving this brow gel. This might be my favorite clear brow gel that I have yet to try. It is very different than the clear brow gel from Colourpop. That's more of like a volumizing kind of fibrous, natural looking brow gel. This one is a little more of like a traditional clear brow gel. It's a little more wet looking, but it doesn't feel wet or look wet in your eyebrows. If you've ever seen in a magazine someone's eyebrows and you can actually see their individual brow hairs and they're nice and upright and every brow is just perfectly in place, that's kind of what I imagine this product does for my brows in a similar way. I really enjoy it. I think it's a great product. It holds really well, lasts really well, nice and affordable. One more brow pencil. This came from the order from YesStyle. This is from the brand Holika Holika. This is their Wonder Drawing Skinny Eyebrow Pencil. I believe I got this for around $6, so it's pretty comparable in price to my, oh boy, see if I can swatch left-handed. My Ultra Skinny Brow Pencil in the shade Ash Taupe. Very similar in color. I think this one is just a little bit more, it's a tiny bit more stiff, but it also gives a little bit more precision. So if you want something that's going to actually draw individual brow hairs, but it's not quite as difficult to use as a pen. Speaking of that tattoo pen from that video, still haven't quite mastered that one. But this pencil, so here's the Ulta one. I just wanted to swatch these next to each other so you guys could see how similar they are. Very similar in shade. They remind me a lot of each other. So I wanted to mention it today, not necessarily because I like it better than the Ulta one, but I like it just about as much. I think they're pretty similar. And if you happen to be on the YesStyle website, maybe looking to order one of the other products that I talked about today, this is definitely a brow pencil I would recommend. By the way, I don't think I mentioned the shade. Mine is in the shade number 5 Ash Brown, which seems to be a perfect match for me. I wanted to mention the Maybelline Sky High Mascara. I've really been enjoying this mascara. It's actually a little difficult to remove, I have found. I was kind of hoping this would be similar to the original Maybelline Lash Sensational. That mascara holds in place really well, but once I get it nice and wet, it kind of melts right off of my lashes. It's really, really easy to remove with soap and water. This one's actually a little bit more difficult. I find this one, I have to make sure my water's really nice and warm, which ironically, shortly after I tried this out for the first time, our water heater went out and we didn't have hot water in our house for about 2 weeks, which was quite exciting. So I was washing my face with cold water pretty much every night. I found that it wasn't removing very well when we had just the cold water. I noticed when our water heater got turned back on, it removed a little bit more easily, but it does wear really well. It does really nice things for my lashes. It's definitely much more of a lengthening mascara and separating than a volumizing mascara. It is the mascara that I'm wearing in my lashes today. I don't know how well you can see it, but it's a great one from the drugstore, affordable. I've been reaching for it a lot and really enjoying it. But the thing that makes me even question whether or not that's what's making me so happy about my lashes is the fact that I just got a new batch of my Vibute Eyelash Growth Serum. I've mentioned this in a favorites video before. I want to say it was about 6 months ago. My tube finally ran out. It actually was pretty much gone. I was trying to squeak out the last little bit for the last month, or maybe that was even like 2 months ago. I've had this one for about 3 weeks now, the new tube, and I'm already noticing how incredibly long this stuff makes my eyelashes. It's seriously, after just a few weeks, I can really tell a difference in this stuff. It's actually a pretty affordable lash serum. I think you can get this for about $28 on Amazon. I'll link it for you guys down below. My sister actually introduced me to this one. This is my second tube, and I'll continually buy this one because as soon as I run out and then I go back to using it, I notice a huge difference in mainly how long my lashes are. I don't know if that makes them any thicker, but the length, you guys, I mean, it gets almost crazy to where I feel like I better stop using it because my lashes start to touch my eyebrows almost, which looks a little bit, I don't know, I question maybe that's a little too much, but it's definitely a good one. It definitely does work. Last but not least, I wanted to mention a couple of nail colors for you guys. These are from Olive and June. These actually came in there, I can't remember exactly, it might have been last fall, but these two shades right here, this one is the one I'm wearing on my nails today. This is the shade Wild Orchid. Such a pretty pink. It's like a bright pink that's not neon, it's not too bubblegum, it's not too in your face, but it's nice and bright and feminine. Beautiful, beautiful color. I absolutely love it. I also really have been loving this shade right here. This is the shade Lava. Really fun, bright orange. This orange I think is the perfect orange. If you like an orange that's almost red, but it's more orange than red. Such a fun, pretty color for summer. Again, this is like a bright orange that's not overly neon and in your face, but it's nice and bright and kind of noticeable. Beautiful shades, both of them. If you're looking for something nice and bright for summer, I think these are fantastic. All right, you guys, that is everything for my favorite things for the month of May. I am sorry this one was pretty overwhelming. I did the best I could to narrow it down. Honestly, there were a few more things that I actually gave the boot. A lot of fun discoveries this last month and stuff that I know I'm going to continue to love throughout the summertime. I would love to know from you guys, what have you been really loving this last month? Any new products, any old favorites that you've rediscovered? What are you guys excited to reach for, get some use out of as we move into summer, as the seasons change? Let me know down in the comments below. Hope that you guys are doing well. I want to send you one more reminder, if you haven't yet subscribed, I would love for you to do that before you leave. But that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys again. I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Product and the colors in this they're really good. Really spot on. Oh, stupid. This summer, or as the season changes right now.